Hi, this is Jayashree Srikanth and you're watching News of the Week. Gorge Floyd Death and Black Lives Matter movement. A week after George Floyd was killed, Minneapolis officer Derek Chauvin was charged on Wednesday with a more serious count of second-degree murder. Thomas Lane, J. Alexander King, and Tu Thao were charged with aiding and abetting second-degree murder and aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison said he strongly believed that these developments are in the interest of justice for Mr. Floyd, his family, the community, and the state. Deceased Mr. Floyd's family reacted by saying it was a bittersweet moment and they were deeply gratified that Ellison took decisive action, arresting and charging all the officers involved in George Floyd's death. Meanwhile, the world over, top brands like Netflix, Google, Twitter, Citigroup, Nike, and Reebok have taken a bold stand supporting the Black Lives Matter human rights campaign. Massive looting and unrest across USA angers protesters. After a night of arrests and destruction following George Floyd's death in police custody, protesters staged marches in cities around the U.S. In New York City, organized groups cased businesses during the day before returning to ransack stores at night. In Sacramento, California, after a march against police brutality dissipated, a mob broke the windows of a pharmacy and busted through a security door. In Kentucky, after looters hit a Kroger grocery store, the frustrated mayor said criminals exploited demonstrations to steal. After 3 days of destruction and violence, officials in Chicago have vowed to aggressively prosecute looters. A graduate student said it is up to peaceful demonstrators to make sure their message doesn't get distorted by those who are looting. On Sunday, Attorney General Bill Barr promised a federal crackdown on any violent and criminal activity occurring during peaceful protests against police brutality. Days later, that crackdown is in full force. Coronavirus vaccine could be ready by September. At least 133 potential COVID-19 vaccines are being researched and developed around the world, according to the World Health Organization. The vaccine may come by this September. Gavi, the global vaccine alliance backed by the Gates Foundation, has raised $8.8 billion from world leaders and companies for its distribution in the poorest of countries. Gavi will use the money to immunize 300 million children in the world's poorest countries by 2025. The Gates Foundation pledged $1.6 billion, China $20 million, Norway $1 billion, and $2 billion from the United Kingdom. French President Emmanuel Macron pledged to donate 500 million euros, as well as further 100 million euros if an effective COVID-19 vaccine was found, while the European Commission pledged 300 million euros. Indian Prime Minister Modi pledged $15 million towards Gavi Alliance. AstraZeneca plans to distribute 1 billion doses of a coronavirus vaccine to low and middle-income countries, with 400 million available this year. The vaccine, named AZD1222, was originally developed by the Oxford University in the UK. PPP loan reform bill passed by House and Senate. Small businesses will likely now have more flexibility to use Paycheck Protection Program loans after the Senate unanimously approved a House bill to amend rules of the program late Wednesday. The bill now goes to President Trump to be signed into law. The bipartisan bill, entitled the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act and spearheaded by Democrat Dean Phillips and Republican Chip Roy, makes several changes to the program. Those include extending the time frame to use funds from 8 weeks to 24 weeks and requiring businesses to use 60% of the funds on payroll. Additionally, the bill now gives small business owners until December 31st to rehire employees to qualify for full forgiveness. Small businesses will also now have 5 years to repay loans instead of 2. And the bill allows businesses to defer payroll taxes. The 1% interest rate on the loans remains the same. Prime Minister Modi's address to India on economic growth. During annual session 2020 of Confederation of Indian Industry (CII), Indian Prime Minister Modi said India will tide over the coronavirus pandemic and will get back on track with the government's decisive policies. Modi congratulated the industry body on completing 125 years of the organization as he made his first major speech on the Indian economy since the announcement of Unlock 1. I have immense trust in India's capabilities and crisis management. I trust India's talent and technology. I trust innovation and intellect of India. I trust the farmers of India, MSMEs, entrepreneurs, and industry leaders, he said. He was indicating to the government's slew of policy reforms and a revival package of rupees 20 lakh crore to help India cope with the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact of the lockdown imposed to fight it. Thank you for watching News of the Week. This is Jayshree Srikanth signing off.